Bulkhead is one of the core members of the Autobot team from Transformers Animated that we see regularly. He's more or less the muscle of the group who's not too bright, and he's a bit clumsy. Actually, he's really clumsy. It's interesting, in the last few years, Hasbro's been putting out multiple scaled versions of the same character. From the first live-action Transformers movie, we got a ton of Optimus Prime, and we got a ton of Bumblebee in different sizes. We got, like, Softimus Prime, and, what was it, Bumblestud, and, you know, we had Activators, and we had fast-action Battlers, and repaints all across the board as well. And this is extended in some degree to Transformers Animated. We're getting a bit of Prime. We're not getting quite as much of Bumblebee this time around, although they're obviously playing up the appearance that he had in the movie. Why, I don't know. He wasn't that major a character. Hopefully we don't see as much of him in the second movie, because I gotta tell you, movie Bumblebee does not have a good face. No. But anyways, back to Animated. So Bulkhead is one of those characters that's getting multiple formats. He's got an Activators, it's about this tall. He's got a Voyager class, it's about this size. I think he's got a couple others. And then what you're looking at here is the Leader class figure, which is the biggest and most interactive version. Posability is as follows. Majority of joints ratchet very nicely, except for the shoulder there, obviously. But they do ratchet very nicely. No wrist rotation in either one. One of the things, I'm getting a little off topic for a moment here, but I kind of have to. I really, really like how the kibble is dealt with. His kibble is intentionally shown in some areas, the kind of big armor junk sitting up here. That's intentional, but I really like the way they compacted that down. I especially enjoyed how the front wheels end up under his waist. Not, you know, not buried in here somewhere, not somewhere up here, but it's actually hidden in plain view. And you can't even really see it from the side unless it's pointed out to you. So that's something else I really liked. Another joint ratchets very well. Free turn there. The ankle also has a little bit of forward and backwards. He believe it or not, he is back heavy, but not as back heavy as you would think. You can actually lean him forward a little bit on his feet. Not a lot, but you can lean him forward just enough to offset the weight in back. And as I showed you a moment ago, he actually has pretty good range, despite the bumper here. Should the bumper have moved forward and backwards? I guess so, but I'm not disappointed that it wasn't. You don't get this figure to make him superposable. That's not what he does. But I am surprised at the range of motion that you can get out of him. The only thing you can't move around is his head, because it's tied into the light and sound feature, and I'll get into that in a moment here. Being a Leader class figure, Bulkhead gets the privilege of a couple extra weapon features that most other figures don't. You know, most figures might have one, maybe two special features, but Bulkhead is just loaded. The first is his air torpedoes, which are these things. He's got 4 of them. I don't know why he has them. This is actually the biggest, the biggest deviation from the character, because in the show he has a flail which pops out of both hands, actually. He opens up his hands and then it pops out of the palm of his hands. He doesn't have that. The Voyager class figure does have it, but the Leader class does not. Instead he has these air torpedoes, and they're not spring powered. They just kind of latch on there and that's it. There's actually a little hole there and there. You just slip it in there. So, nothing special. I just kind of ignore them. They get in the way a little bit during the transformation, but it's not really any big deal. Now, instead of the flails, Bulkhead actually has 2 different weapons for his hands, just like with the Voyager class figure. On the left side here, on the right side here, you have a circular saw. It's nice how it spins, but here's the fun part. You push this. You have to actually push this at a certain speed in order to get it to work right. I've seen online some people complain about, I don't know, it's like the buzz saw is turning in the wrong direction or something. I don't know, because, I don't know, the buzz saw on mine looks like it's pointed the right direction. And I'm looking at pictures, they're all pointed the wrong direction. I was like, what, really? Well, I didn't notice anything wrong with mine. And, you know, as compensation for the fact he actually doesn't have a buzzsaw in there. We never see it in the series. So instead his hands, or I should say his fingers, are molded around it like that. It's a small compensation. So left hand, there goes that shoulder joint again. Like I said, I don't like how it locks in. It's a solid snap, but if you move the torso around, you'll see during the transformation, then that pops out. Anyways, for his right hand, it's a little simpler. You can open and close his fingers with this little switch on top. And that's it for his action features. Bulkhead's head is tied directly into his electronic light and sound. Bulkhead's head, yeah, I'm going to say that a few times. And here's how it works. What you do is you press on the Autobot logo. One of the three phrases they always play in this order, although they always start with the last one you let go of.
Time for the big guns! You can do it, buddy. Sorry, my bad.
And that's it. Now, unfortunately, the button here is really sensitive, so you can't turn his head all the way and not expect that thing to go off. It's very sensitive.
Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, okay. By the way, that is the voice of the guy from the series. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his name because it's got some interesting letters in there that I can't pronounce correctly without offending somebody, so I'm not even going to bother. It's that guy down there. You try pronouncing that name in front of thousands of people without having heard it before. Hey. So anyways, that's his light and sound feature. However, Leader Class Bulkhead is different from the other two Leader Class figures in that he comes with a Headmaster unit. This actually does appear in the series a couple times. Henry Masterson makes it, an employee of Sumdac Enterprises. Was it Sumdac Enterprises Corporation? I don't know. I don't care. Anyways, yeah, this is a Headmaster unit. Basically, it's a cockpit for Henry Masterson, a.k.a. the Headmaster, to... What he does is he cuts the head off of a robot and then he plants it on top. Well, Bulkhead was his first victim, so naturally it comes with the Leader Class figure. This is the voice of the guy as well, who does the voice of Henry Masterson, and it's taken directly from the series, by the way. I double-checked. You just plug this in and... And you notice that the lights have all changed. There was no red previously, but it was all yellow here, and down here. The Autobot logo doesn't even light up. It'll light up red, but it won't light up yellow. Anyways, the light down here, and there's an additional light sitting there, so that's pretty cool. His eyes also do light up red. I checked that, so... Anyways, that happens both when you put it on and when you turn it. That's actually from like the first few minutes of the episode Headmaster in Season 1, so... but the question is, if it can fit onto a Leader Class figure like Bulkhead, can it fit onto the other two? Take Megatron, for example. Can you plug... Here's the Headmaster unit. Plug it into him, and it fits into the same three slots that it does in Bulkhead. Well, now, does it make any changes? Megatron says no. Yeah. Putting a Headmaster unit onto Leader Class Megatron makes no difference whatsoever. So how about Ultra Magnus? Think it fits on him? Yeah, it also fits on him. It's not very solid. It's just 3 pegs on the front, and that also applies to Megatron and Bulkhead. But you can see there, the back of Ultra Magnus's head is still visible, and that's because the Headmaster unit has a bit of an angle on the back. That's so that it can accommodate Bulkhead. So does Ultra Magnus accommodate the Headmaster unit? Well, let's see.
Ultra Magnus here.
No, it doesn't accommodate him. In the words of the Headmaster, fail. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there are 2 things that are rather interesting about Bulkhead's light and sound feature. The first is that this is the first time that a character other than the Transformer being represented in the toy is saying something. So it's not Bulkhead saying ownage, total ownage, it's Headmaster who's saying it. So I think that's a first. I could be wrong. And even though Bulkhead is doing the speaking, not once do we hear him say his name. Yeah, there are other Transformers out there across 24 years that have light and sound in them, but whenever you hear a character speaking, they always say their name somewhere in there. So as far as I know, Bulkhead is the first one, if not only up to this point, that doesn't say his name at all. So that was a nice thing to have for a change. You know, not only do we get to hear a non-Cybertronian speak, but we also don't have to have Bulkhead say his name to know who he is. Thank you, Hasbro. And the other nice thing is these are clips taken directly from the show. So if you heard it in the show, you heard it right here. Hasbro, that's the way you're supposed to do it, okay? That right there, that is how you do it, okay? That right there. Do that again, okay? Seriously, like when Revenge of the Fallen finally comes out, because we just got the name a couple months ago, when Revenge of the Fallen comes out, do that for all the other toys, okay? Like, seriously. I saw your prototype for the new Leader Class Prime, which rocks, by the way. I really hope he doesn't say, I am Optimus Prime again, okay? I am sick and tired of Optimus Prime saying, I am Optimus Prime, okay? That is really, really, really annoying. Oh yeah, by the way, Crumplezone called, said something about wanting his jaw back. I don't know what he means by that. That was just weird. Transformation is as follows. I really enjoy how they deal with the kill on this bot. I really do. These clips up here are only used, and the instructions kind of gloss over this, but what you're supposed to do is take this, and you're supposed to wedge it into position there. There actually are two little tabs, and you just kind of fiddle around with it, mess around with it in there. And that way, it actually does, you know, fit the contours a little more. Things actually do get hidden a little better. But seeing as we're actually transforming him to vehicle mode, the instructions say you're supposed to put these together and flip it over immediately. I don't do that. I actually say that. That's actually one of the last steps I do. While the roof panels have their own clips, there's actually another pair of them on the inside. You have to... I wouldn't advise squeezing it together because the plastic will flex and eventually it'll break. So you're actually going to have to reach in there and pull it apart, or squeeze it together. Yeah, pull it apart. I love the way they treat the kibble on this guy. It's just so cool. Don't talk about kibble much, but I do like the way the kibble was treated on this guy. Bring it around 180, lifting up on the arm at the same time and flipping the forearm around at the same time too. Come on, there you go. And then there are tabs on either side of his forearm. Just going to lock things up nice and tight right there. And this just folds up, snaps in place nicely. Fold open the wheels. And then, oh yeah, this is the part, the instructions say you're supposed to fold the air torpedoes over immediately. Well, I save it for later just because they kind of get in the way of closing things up here, so. There. Bulkhead in Gearwalk mode. Lol. This is actually one of the things I have a problem with, is getting his kind of the crotch section here separated from this bar. It actually takes a bit of force, and you're never quite sure where to grab onto. And the thing I worry about, and that was kind of the thing to extend, and I worry that by this suddenly pulling forward, the thighs are going to bump into bumpers, and it's eventually going to wear out that plastic, or the thing here is going to bump into this. So that is something I worry about. Here are those wheels I said that I really enjoyed the way they Right, they just fold in there. It's really great. This is on a spring. So you gotta hold it in place. The feet are not, I kind of forgot to mention this, kind of nothing. The feet, the tractor treads, do not move, and they're just part of the, I don't know, vehicle kibble, I guess. I don't know. Not very satisfactory how those, how the feet go in there, but oh well. Now here's my least favorite part right here. What you have to do, you see there's that big old gap there, you have to push the torso downwards. Well, the problem is, well, just like that. Now, getting it down is just fine, but you can see there's still quite a bit of a gap here. This is the one part of the toy that's really frustrating. No matter how hard I push down on this, it will not go down any further than this. And unfortunately, that affects how the turret's going to fit over his head. This last part here, I kind of improvise. I fold the turret down, but I don't keep it together like they say in the instructions. What you do is, let's see, how did I do that? Okay. Wait, did I? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what happens when you don't reverse the transmission. You see, it does actually. Oh wow, I totally spoiled that. It does fit across his head. You can see it fits there. But because I can't get this all the way down, you have to wedge one in, then the other, snap them together, and then push down. Which is pretty awesome. I love how leader class figures have that sound. Hasbro, don't change that. And each one's different the way they transform and everything. So, and that is leader class bulkhead in vehicle mode. Not really much can be said about his alt mode. The biggest variations from what you see in the series are he's got a turret up here with cannons that can move up and down, and then he's got those air torpedoes sitting back here on turrets of their own, which can still turn, of course. Otherwise, he's very faithful to what you see in the series. But the only thing that's a giveaway that he's a robot in disguise is, aside from the fact that he's got air torpedoes and a turret sitting on him, a little hollow in back here. That's about it. The wheels are really nice. You know, he doesn't have hubcaps because this is a, I'm not sure if this is a military vehicle or a police vehicle. It's kind of hard to tell. But anyways, the wheels are pretty cool because they turn, the wheels turn independently of the hubcaps. So that's pretty sweet. And what else does a vehicle mode do but roll? Okay, enough of that. But then, lest we forget, he has that electronic feature there. Here's the cool part. Check this out. The camera exaggerates the coloring of the red, but trust me, it's actually red rather than the orange it seems to be. At least that's what it looks like from my perspective. So anyways, but what you can do is hold it down. Oh, that was interesting. Okay. It usually doesn't end that quickly. You'll notice also that it's not the red plastic up here it's glowing, but that's not the part that's lighting up. It's actually the lights. You remember when I put the Headmaster unit on him? Well, it's those same red LEDs in the torso that are shining up through the shoulder lighting panel, hole, whatever, into those things. So that's pretty cool. I like that. Transferable light. It's a little exposed from the front, I admit, but otherwise that's a pretty cool feature, transferring light like that. It's pretty limited as far as vehicle mode goes, so most of the appeal to it is in robot mode, of course. I am now obligated, of course, to show you the speaker is the grill in front, and the battery compartment right there. It takes 2 AA batteries. So yeah, that's it for vehicle mode. I have a small confession to make here. Bulkhead is not exactly one of my favorite characters from the show. Yeah, he has his moments, but just, I'm not thrilled with him. but there was still something that told me that I needed to have some kind of representation in my collection of him. It actually took me several months to make the decision, and one of my decisions was that I wasn't going to settle for anything less than Voyager class, because I didn't want something that was loosely inspired by what you saw on the screen. So it was between Voyager class and Leader class. Leader class Bulkhead has a bunch of gimmicks that you don't see in the show, but he's the correct size with most of the toys that were released. That's something that the Voyager class toy did not do. However, the Voyager class toy was cheaper, so I wouldn't have to spend a lot of money on a character that I didn't really care about. It eventually came down to a compulsory buy because the shelves are more or less barren of the characters that I wanted. Not going to get Ratchet, not going to get Black Arachnia. I'm debating whether or not I'm going to get Blitzwing. There's just something not right there. Already had Starscream, already had Lugnut, already had Megatron. Forward to Shockwave, already had Soundwave. Not impressed with Soundwave at all. I'm almost tempted to sell him. Almost. So, like, I had most of the figures that I wanted. And there were, I needed to fill some gaps in my collection, was more or less what I was doing here. And Bulkhead was one of the last ones. And there was just one Leader class figure just sitting there on the shelf. Not having anything else to do in the local TRU, I grabbed it. So you can imagine my surprise when I realized I was actually starting to enjoy this figure. I'm actually a fan of the larger figures because, you can do a lot more with them. They got more features, they're a little more complex in their transformation. I like those things, that's awesome. But this figure quickly became one of my favorites. Even though I don't like the character, the toy itself quickly became one of my favorites. Yeah, he's got the turret up there, which, it's kind of nice. Be nice if it rotated, but okay, whatever. He's got the lights on there which shine through. That's kind of cool. You press on that and lights shine. Okay, yeah. He didn't have any headlights, but he didn't need any headlights. He's also got those air torpedoes. I kind of wish that the air torpedoes would have been able to launch off with spring launchers. On the other hand, I didn't want the air torpedoes to be just these, these tiny little things like that. So that was very nice. Like I said, the vehicle mode, I've got no complaints whatsoever, aside from the fact that, it's a little difficult to get the upper half of the torso to fit in place, and then get this onto the top. And the nice thing about the vehicle mode is that the transformation process is more or less the same. We've seen this door and back. Truth be told, the door actually folds downwards, but on the toy it folds upwards. Okay, whatever. But the arms do originate from the sides there. They do fold around like that. It's very specifically shown in the series. You don't quite see where the legs come from, but the transformation more or less is very pleasing. And like I've said several times now, I'm really a big fan of how they handled the kibble. It could have been kind of stacked in weird fashions, but it's very compacted. Things are covered up in layers, which is really nice. That's really good. The robot mode is also a bit on the impressive side. Like I said, storing kibble is just one part of it. Again, the air torpedoes were not necessarily seen in the show, but they're not really out of character. I mean, you could actually see the air torpedoes in the series. Bulkhead throwing these around left and right, or having them accidentally go off or something like that. You could actually see that. So having them there didn't really bug me that much. Even though the air torpedoes on the toy aren't that great, I really thought it wasn't out of character all that much. Yeah, he's not a weapon nut like Ironhide is in the live-action movie, but I could still see in some fashion Bulkhead would enjoy using them. And same with the turret up top there. But having the gripping hand on the left side and the buzzsaw, like the buzzsaw, that also would have been kind of interesting. But the gripping hand on the left side was greatly appreciated. I was glad to see that. It doesn't open quite as wide as I would like, but no big deal there. But the general posability of the character is a lot greater than I thought it would be. I thought that it would be kind of limited and clunky. I mean, he is a clunky character, obviously, and he looks big. It's not a slimmed-down figure just so, they could get all the parts to fit in the right places. No, I mean, he really is bulky. He certainly lives up to his name in robot mode, and just as much in vehicle mode, of course. The only thing that really bums me out about robot mode was that the head couldn't be posed. Like with Ultra Magnus and Megatron, you can actually turn their heads side to side, but it's nice to see that Bulkhead's jaw and brow move up and down just like they do on Megs and Ultra Magnus. So that was a bit of a compensation there. But otherwise, I thought the posability was just fine. I mean, everything ratchets very nicely. The swivel joints are right where they're supposed to be. They're not too loose. They're not too tight. Everything works out just the way it's supposed to. And it's a good physical representation of the character. As for the Headmaster gimmick, it's a little below expectations. I like that it changed the sound effects and even the light effects on Bulkhead, although I would have liked maybe 2 or 3 sound effects out of him rather than just 1. It certainly is nice that this toy has sound effects taken directly from the show. I mean, that's awesome. I love that. That's great. But I think we could have used 1, maybe 2 more phrases from Headmaster. That would have been nice. And Ultra Magnus and Megatron had no excuse whatsoever. I mean, Bulkhead has 5 sound effects built into him. 6 if you include the Headmaster phrase. So, I mean, if a smaller toy like Bulkhead, because believe it or not, Bulkhead actually is about an inch shorter, including the kibble, than Megs and Ultra Magnus are, and yet those two just only have 5 sound effects. And I mean, come on, you know what, Hasbro, if you have to, give them a different phrase. Rather than saying ownage, total ownage, have him say something else from the show, you know? Like, I'm gonna pwn you, noob, or something like that. I mean, really have him go into the lead speak. But I didn't really get this toy for the Headmaster unit. That thing's probably just going to end up back in the box when I'm done with it. It's kind of useless. In the end, there was really only one reason why I got the Leader Class Bulkhead figure to begin with. And that is so I could do this. Have him sit on his own vehicle kibble. Now that is epic. This is Ava Unit 4A for CollectionDX.com, signing off.